Hello, everybody. It's Prime here again. This time to talk about the Sony conference. I checked out the EA one and the Ubisoft one and the Microsoft one, and Microsoft done their typical like trounce out, beating their chest with Halo, and then they showed off Gears of War and that. Gears of War 4, which didn't look like Gears of War in any way. It looked like it was just set. It was like Resident Gears. It was like it looked like Resident Evil, but Gears of War. It just looked so dull and dry, and I'm not saying that because I've never owned an Xbox or anything like that. So you guys might be very excited for it, and that's fine. We're all gamers here. We've all got our own tastes in that. So I'm not gonna hold it against you if that like Halo total gets you riled up, and Gears of War gets you riled up, and you're ready. You're so excited for it. I'm excited for things that you're probably not excited about. So let's not, what I mean. Let's not argue about that. The only thing I was wanting from Ubisoft was them to just mention Beyond Good and Evil 2. That would have been great, but they just. See, even if they were just like, okay, not Beyond Good and Evil 2, here's a new Rayman game, I would have been like, that was worth it. That was worth it. They showed nothing I wanted. They showed literally nothing. I didn't want anything that they showed. The Assassin's Creed game, it's just another Assassin's Creed game, guys. It's like assassins killing people in another city, and that's it. It's just another Assassin's Creed game. And like the EA one, they showed like a CG trailer. It's supposed to be a target render for like what they want the graphics to look like, but they showed the new Mass Effect, and it was just like a teaser essentially, and that got me going. I like Mass Effect, and that was it. I can't even like everything else was such a footnote compared to that. I can't even remember what else they showed. To be honest, it was like the Mass Effect bit right at the very beginning. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I can't even remember what else they've done. But to help me with the Sony one here, I'm opened up on Games Radar because they've got like a breakdown of everything that happened, and I didn't get an awful lot of sleep last night. So yeah, this might be a longer one. This might be like 20 minutes to half an hour or something like that. I'm not even going to bother looking at the timer, just because I just can't be bothered. I'm just going to speak, and when I'm finished, I'm finished. So, right, okay, so the Sony one opened up, and you know me, like, PlayStation guy. I used to be such a fanboy. Now I'm kind of a wee bit more cynical about it. Now I'm a wee bit wiser for my years now. But there was an awful lot at this show that got me excited, at least. Opened up with The Last Guardian. This is the ending to like a bad joke, really. No, at this point, it's like it's been shown and shown and shown, and sometimes it's just never appeared, and it's never appeared for years, and people are hyped up for it, and then it just disappears, and nobody says anything for years and years and years, and they finally showed it off, and it was running on the PS4, and it's coming next year. So, me personally, I never played Ico or Shadow of the Colossus until Rage told me about them. I was like, are they really as good? Like, because Rage had Shadow of the Colossus, and he was playing that, and I think he got Ico as well later on, and I was like, are these games worth it, really? And then like when the HD remakes came out for the PS3, I gave them a shot, and they turned out to be one of the best experiences that I've ever had in games, period. So without that foreknowledge of how good the original games were, I would probably not be as excited for this as I am. And even then, I would say my excitement's on like about a 6 out of 10. Like, it looks really nice, it looks beautiful, like it just looks incredible, but they never really showed it. They just showed what looked like to be like Ico combined with Shadow of the Colossus, essentially, and that's fine. Like, see, one of the things, like, while I was watching the gameplay, it was the wee boy was on the ledge at the start. He was shouting the thing over, and I was like, right, jump, Because what I was wanting, right, was the wee boy to jump off and this thing to dive after him and him land on the thing's back and then they start flying. That would have been like, I'd have been like, right, okay, 9 out of 10 for like anticipation, you know, like 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. But all they did was show the wee boy like falling. Oh, help me! Oh no! And the thing grabbed him, jumped about, and that was it really. So as good as the game looks, and as excited as I am for it, I'm my kind of expectations after all these years are kind of tempered. You know, that's one thing that people kind of forget is like, these games are not going to be perfect. They're not going to be exactly the way you imagine them to be. So like, it's always a good idea to temper your expectations, and we'll get into that a wee bit later. So yeah, Last Guardian. It looked great, but yeah, I'm just kind of hoping right now that it's going to turn out kind of better than what I hoped it would be. Because so far, gameplay wise, it looks great, and like I don't know what I was expecting other than like, please jump off and like start flying. That would be fantastic. But yeah, looks great. Sort of 6, 7 out of 10. Kind of looking forward to it though. Okay, so the next thing that they showed was a complete surprise to me, and this was Guerrilla's new game, Horizon Zero Dawn, and it says here, Guerrilla debuts Horizon Zero Dawn, and it looks like a techno Monster Hunter. And that is nearly word for word what I was saying when I was watching it. I was like, so Capcom have stopped doing Monster Hunter games for PlayStation platforms, and for some weird reason, like obviously Sony kind of screwed them over with the release of one of their games over in Europe and that. But that's no like a reason to pull an entire franchise and just go exclusively to Nintendo for. You know what I mean? Like, Monster Hunter's really popular, and I'm pretty sure like wherever it went, it would have made that platform really popular as well. So like, that could have saved the Vita really, you know, like if they'd have just bit their lip and just went, okay, Sony, you win this round, and we'll just, you know, like if they just, you know, if they had just sort of like took it on the chin and just went like, okay, whatever, let's just move on now, and just started making Monster Hunter games again for like PlayStation, because it was birthed on the PlayStation. I'm sad to see it go to like Nintendo. I've got a Wii U now in the hopes that one day they'll bring out like a Wii U version of the games or something like that. But yeah, I'm digressing here. This Horizon Zero Dawn, I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? This looks like freaking Monster Hunter. This looks like Monster Hunter. It looks like Monster Hunter, but the monsters are like giant robot dinosaurs, and that's cool. And you know what? Like, looking back on it, like, imagine Monster Hunter. In fact, you don't have to imagine it at all. You can just watch the trailer thing. But like, in my like the way I'm thinking about it in my head is like, imagine like Monster Hunter was mixed with like a Metal Gear game. You know, like, I didn't really like Metal Gear Rising, but that was kind of like something that kind of flashed into my head as well. It's almost like the giant, like when you're fighting the rays and all that, you know, like in Metal Gear. So yeah, that game looked really cool. It was almost like a mix between like Heavenly Sword and Monster Hunter and like Metal Gear Rising, and it was like this amalgamation of like something that looked spectacular, looked splendid, you know. It was colourful, it was vibrant. That's one of the things that I noticed about the Sony presser compared to like pretty much everything else, is that these games looked colourful, and that's one thing that I've been wanting for ages. I want them to like get away from that really drab brown grey palette that they've been using for the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and move on to like beautiful, like vibrant, colourful, like the art style is great. You know, like I want games to look beautiful rather than trying to emulate dustiness in real life. And like, you think that's weird coming from me, a guy who like is drooling over Fallout, you know, like a game that's like based in a freaking wasteland. But I like Fallout is like fantastic because I like the concept, not because the art style is particularly amazing. I just love the concept of a wasteland, you know, like if like you're trying to survive, like that whole Mad Max sort of thing. But in terms of like games overall, I'd rather see something colourful. I'd rather see something that is like got an interesting art style and that like it's animated really well. not something that's trying to emulate real life, because like the closer you get to that sort of look, the less real it kind of looks, really. I'd rather it look interesting rather than trying to look real. But yeah, so this Horizon Zero Dawn, that's like, I can't wait to see more on it, and my anticipation for that is higher than the Last Guardian. I'd say probably about an 8 or 9 out of 10 for that Horizon Zero Dawn, because it's third person as well. I was so happy to see that Guerrilla didn't come back and do something like another first person game, because like as good as the Killzone games are, I think I only played like Killzone 1 on the PS2. Is it PS2? Yeah, Killzone on the PS2, and back then I really wasn't into first person shooters at all. So anyway, again, digressing. Horizon Zero Dawn looks great. So like, let's move on. Hitman. There's like one thing that you should know about me, right? I really, really, really liked Hitman Blood Money. And I really liked Hitman like 2, Silent Assassin, and Hitman Contracts and all that. I think I only completed Hitman 2 and Blood Money though. And the Absolution game, I played a wee bit of it, but my PC wasn't powerful enough to actually play it. It looked really good, and like it looked like something I'd want to get into, but just for one reason or another, I just never got into it. But like seeing a new Hitman trailer, I was like, oh man, I really want to play like Absolution now. Like I'll really like see if my PC like knew that I've got a new graphics card, see if that actually like has it running bra now. But yeah, Hitman's amazing. Oh man, it looks so cool. Like it's just like a CG trailer of him like taking a hit on somebody. But man, every time you see that freaking baldy head of his, man, so cool. Like Agent 47 is a total daddy. He's a total psycho. He's an evil, horrible psycho that kills for money, but he's the total man. So yeah, it was just a CG trailer, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. And another really brief trailer was Street Fighter 5. They announced that there was a beta coming as well, so if you pre-order it, you get a beta like for the PS4. And they announced Cammy and Birdie. Now, Birdie was a character back in Street Fighter Alpha 3. I don't know, was he in Street Fighter Alpha 1 or 2? I think he was in the Alpha games, but he was last seen in Alpha 3. And that, like, Birdie was cool. Like, Birdie was like, if you didn't want to play Balrog or something like that, you'd play Birdie. Like it had that same kind of moveset where you'd kind of charge back and then dash forward sort of thing. But yeah, Birdie was cool. And then they showed the trailer and it was like, what? It's like Birdie like drank a lot of beer or something like that. He had a beer belly, or like he had too much cheeseburgers. I don't know why they gave him this really kind of fat pot belly thing, and I don't really think it worked. But it's cool to see Birdie back though, because like I thought his hair's like, I was like, that hair's impossible. You can't do that. That's silly. But yeah, his hairstyle's impossible, and Cammy as well. Oh, everybody likes Cammy, so like yeah, Cannon Drill. So yeah, Street Fighter 5 looks pretty good. I'm not really super excited for it because I kind of prefer like Mortal Kombat and Guilty Gear and things like that. But yeah, Street Fighter 5. I'm not actually really excited. Like on a side note, not really excited for Revelator, Guilty Gear Revelator. It's been too soon since the previous Guilty Gear, and they waited all the way from like if you guys are in America, you got Guilty Gear back in like December or like December 23rd or something like that. I'm in Europe, and we just got Guilty Gear Xrd like 2 weeks ago. We waited like 6 months to get Guilty Gear over here, and there was no reason for it. There's literally no reason for it. They could have went to anybody and said, could you please publish this game over in Europe? And anybody could have just said yeah, because like Guilty Gear's like one of these like hardcore fighting games that everybody, like anybody that's into fighting games would play Guilty Gear. You know what I mean? It's niche, but it's niche in that sort of specific market of fighting game players, you know? It's like Street Fighter is like broad. Everybody knows Street Fighter. Street Fighter is like a really like, what fighting games you ever played? Oh well, I played Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat. That's as broad as you get. You know what I mean? You start to go more specific, you'll be into like Arcana Heart, you'll be into King of Fighters, you'll be into like Guilty Gear, you know. But even Blaze Blue is a bit more mainstream than Guilty Gear now. And Blaze Blue came out after Guilty Gear, so like. But yeah, anyway, not really excited for Revelator because it's been too soon. It's like it's too quick, and they're only adding a couple of characters. Hopefully they'll add Jam, because Jam needs to be in it, because that's Rage's favourite character. And if you're going to put Saul Bad Guy in there and Kai Kiske in there, and you're going to have all these other characters, like where's Testament, where's Jam, where's like, again, going off on a tangent, sorry about that. Street Fighter 5 looks cool though, and I'm interested to see this these V-skill things that they're talking about, the new power meter thing that they're doing, where you can like Charlie can teleport and things like that. Looks interesting, looks really cool. So yeah. Next up, oh man, they showed No Man's Sky again. Oh man, this game looks so good. Like, it blew my mind. Like, it's so weird because the one thing that they don't show, right, is that you're able to like literally, instead of warping, you can actually fly to all these places. You don't have to like warp there. Warping is just like a quick way to get to that place. You know, you don't have to do that, but you can fly. Like, you can literally spend decades flying in one direction, not hit anything for hundreds of years, and you can hit like that planet that they went to. You know, I can't wait for this game. The scale is unprecedented. And I actually had an idea like that, like back when I was, my idea, like back when I was in college, I wanted to do games design, and that kind of fell through. So like, yeah, like, anyway, yeah, but like, I had an idea back in college where it was like, okay, like imagine like a full scale like solar system. It's like properly the full size of the solar system, and it was a turn-based strategy game. Like it was like literally everything that I hated about games. I hated the time consumption. I hated strategy games. And I'm sorry to say that, you know what I mean? Like, strategy games are just not my thing. But like back in the thing, I was like, imagine a game that was so not what I like, but everybody else loved it. You know, it was like generational. Like, you've got to get from Pluto to Earth, and it takes like hundreds of years to do that. You know. There's no faster than light travel, there's no like warping or anything like that. It's essentially like, the game was called Convoy Destination Earth, and this was before I think it was Galaga Destination Earth came out. Like, I thought of the title Destination Earth before I seen Galaga Destination Earth. But yeah, and so it was meant to be like a strat, like half of the planets were strategy, half of the planets were like first person shooter. And I didn't like first person shooters back in the day, so it was everything that I hated, you know. And it was like if you were playing as Pluto, it'd be like a first person shooter where you've got to try and get from planet to planet before you get to Earth. And Earth was the final destination, because Earth was warring against the sun. But yeah, like, again, No Man's Sky is literally doing a full-scale, like, universe-sized game. So that, like, seeing that, I was like, man, that's like the idea that I had, but it was like on like a more infinitely big scale, you know. So that kind of, you know, just found it funny, and like their execution of like that idea is just phenomenal. Like they've got, like, I mean, initially I don't think they had too much direction. I think they were just like, imagine you could explore all these worlds, and it was like a procedurally, like, well, not procedurally generated, but like a seeded universe, you know, and you can go to all these different places and everything like that. And that's all they really had. But then people were like, so what do you do in the game then, though? Like, what is the, why are you doing this, you know? And then they started to have to think about like what other things they could put in the game in order to make it an actual game instead of just like walking about. Like, and the walking about, like, that would be fun. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm interested in seeing all these like different creatures and like discovering all these different things, you know? So that's fine. I'm fine with that. Like, but they've added in trading, they've added in space combat, they've added in like land, like when you're on the ground on planets, and land combat and things like that. They've got all that. the upgrading system kind of like not upgrading, the trading system kind of reminds me of a game back on the Atari that my dad used to play called Galactic Trader. So like it'd be cool to like trade with other aliens and that. Like, oh, I'm needing some more like fuel, you know, to go off and trade with other people in that, and that would be fine, you know, that'd be great. So they've got all these like gameplay elements in place now, and the game's coming out. I think it's next year. They said they're going to be announcing a release date soon, so I'm assuming it'll be early next year though, because like this game's too big to. Yeah, it's literally the size of the universe. So, but yeah, anyway. So No Man's Sky looks great. I'm really anticipating that. It's like a 9 out of 10 for me as well. Next game. Oh, they showed that Dreams. That's it. Media Molecule came out and was like, we like creating things and we like creativity. So we're going to make a game that allows you to create literally whatever you want. And they only had like the guy said like when it came up, he's only got 3 minutes to show you an idea, like really briefly an idea of what this game's going to be like. And I'm going to get it. See, the only problem with getting it is I don't know how it's going to control when it comes to like, you know, you're probably going to need the camera. You're probably going to need like you might even need like a move controller if you don't like the because the way he was holding the controller and using the controller to paint stuff, it didn't really make sense to me. So like when he was kind of brushing in stuff into the environment, it didn't really make sense. I think it would make more sense to have like a little wand thing with a glowing ball on the end of it to like draw with or something like that, you know. But yeah, Dreams looked really, really cool, and I still don't fully grasp what it is, because they were saying, oh, you can make games and you can make anything like anything you can dream of essentially. And I can dream of games. Like, how do you go about rigging all these characters and like, is this literally a from the ground up game creation system, or like what is it like? Do you just make little scenes like the marionette things that they were doing, you know? Like, what is it? But it looked interesting. That's the thing, is that that's the one thing that like all these other conferences was just not doing, is that it just didn't have that lovely creativity, you know what I mean? It just didn't have that. It just had like, here's freaking Tom Clancy's Gun War, or like Halo, or like Gears of War. It was just like the same stuff, you know? But Media Molecule, when they come out, they're like, here's an idea, you know, and then they come forward and like, you know, Little Big Planet came out, and then like Tearaway came out, and now they're doing this, and it's like, these guys are prolific, you know? They might not have the idea solidly down yet in a way that they can explain, but the idea is interesting, you know? They have a really good idea, and it may work, it may not work, whatever it is though, it's interesting, you know? So that was Dreams. Dreams was really cool. Man, we're not even halfway through yet. Firewatch. This was like this is something that I'd never seen. It looked like a comedy first-person survival game, because there was this woman on, like, it was this like a disembodied voice on the end of the radio talking to you all the time. It was just this kind of like funny guy with like an axe, kind of going about the wilderness, and she's talking, and the woman's voice is talking to him on the radio, and it's kind of quirky back and forth between the two, and it looked kind of cartoony, and I liked the art style as well. It kind of reminded me Team Fortress 2 style artwork. Maybe not so heavy on the, you know, the cel shaded cartoony kind of look, but yeah, it looked interesting, and it looked kind of fun and quirky. I don't really know much anything else about it, but yeah, it looked cool. Next. Destiny's expansion coming 5th of September. The Taken 15th of September. The Taken King gives Destiny new gear, new maps, and new supers. Yep. So I played Destiny. One of my real life friends, Paul, Funny guy. We have an awful lot of good laughs in there. Sometimes played it with GR Sonic as well. He's a good laugh. Yeah. It's a good game with friends. Like, Destiny's really fun if you've got friends kicking about. See if your friends are kind of like, oh, I've done this over and over again though, and it's boring, and like, I'm usually that friend, by the way. I'm like, man, I don't want to do like another strike because it's just the same freaking strike all the time, you know? It's just the same stuff over and over and over again. So, anything that adds new content to the game, I want like a couple of new planets at least. You know, like whole new areas to explore instead of just going back to Earth all the time or going back to the moon or something. Destiny's a good game when you've got friends and it's like the content's fresh. But see, having to keep on redoing the same stuff over and over again. The problem is, right, is that I played World of Warcraft for a long time as well, and it's the same sort of thing. Like, it's not to the grand scale of World of Warcraft. It's not an MMO or anything like that. It's a multiplayer online shooting game. But where it's similar is the grind at the end. The problem with Destiny though is that most of the game is grind. Like 20% of the game is maybe like cool content and you'll play it once and you'll never want to play it again. And then the rest of it is just grinding for new items. Like 80% of that game is just you grinding at the end. So, but World of Warcraft on the other hand is like 100 levels of like content. It's all content. Like World of Warcraft is all content. And then at the end, if you want to make your character look cooler or whatever like that, right at the very end, that last 5% is grinding. And that's all you'll ever do if you want to keep on playing that character. So, yeah, Destiny's got their proportions out of whack a little, I think. I think what they should be aiming for is like that whole like 95% content and then that 5% of the grinding at the end. They need to go for that sweet spot because there's not enough content in Destiny to warrant you keeping on going back to it all the time, and it just gets boring and repetitive, and it's like boring and repetitive like really quickly because there's not enough a lot of content to it. So, yeah, that was Destiny. Anyway, yeah. So they've announced the expansion. Great. You're going to add new planets in, please. That'd be great. Just a couple of new planets. I'm not asking for too much, Emma, considering the amount of content that they released at launch, which was kind of laughable. As fun as the content was. So then they showed Assassin's Creed. They've given, like, I'm not going to give them too much. Like, I'm not going to give them any time talking about that. They had a whole Ubisoft conference talking about it. They had like part of the PlayStation conference talking about it. If you want to see it, you can see it for yourself. I'm sick of Assassin's Creed now, by the way. Like, I just can't be bothered with it. So next, World of Final Fantasy. That is so cute. You play as tiny versions of classic Final Fantasy characters. It's coming exclusively to PS4 and Vita. So, first thing that came into my head was when they were playing the actual gameplay of it. It kind of looked like Animal Crossing Final Fantasy. It kind of looked like 3D dot game heroes. Not the visual style of it, but in terms of that whole weird kind of like everything's all chibi and cute style thing. You know, it's all small and like everything's exaggerated and all that. Yeah, it looked cool, and I was just like, oh. They're not gonna say the one thing that I want them to say. And then they said it. Final Fantasy VII remake is apparently happening. A remake of Final Fantasy VII. This is like another this is another like end of a bad joke. You know what I mean? Like, there's blah 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 blah. Final Fantasy VII. Ah ha 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 ha. It's hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, and so right, okay. I'm going to explain to you exactly what happened. Right? They said, right, we've got a surprise for you for all the long-term PlayStation fans. It came right after Final Fantasy, like the Final Fantasy Worlds or Worlds of Final Fantasy or something like that. And I was just like, I got on the edge of my seat. And see, the thing is that I wasn't excited. I just wasn't excited by it. The music that was playing was from Advent Children, and I was watching it, and I was like, you guys are you're gonna announce like a sequel to Advent Children or something. You're like, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a game. It doesn't feel like they essentially showed a CG trailer, and they had all this really like like poetic sort of messaging of like they were using like the words that they were using were like, finally the promise has been made, and like they had like it was all innuendo. It was all like an innuendo for like whether they were going to remake the game or not. It was all analogous, and as I was watching the trailer, I was just like, it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like this is like, it doesn't feel like it's happening. It doesn't, like, it's weird because last year I was super excited, and they were like, they got like the guy from Square Enix up on the stage, and he was so happy, he was grinning from ear to ear, and he was like, I'm so pleased to announce that Final Fantasy VII will be coming to PS4, and it was just the PC remake. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a remake. It was like the PC port. You know, and it just really annoyed me. And after that, I just said, that'll never happen. It's not going to happen. They've done this one too many times. It's just not going to happen. This is the end of it. This is the last of it. Nothing is going to happen with this. Final Fantasy VII remake will never happen. So imagine my surprise when this year they did announce it. One, I wasn't expecting it. Two, it never came with like bells and whistles. It wasn't all singing, all dancing, fanfare. It was just like, promise has been made. The people will return. Logo remake. You know what I mean? Like, it never. It felt mute. It felt like it didn't feel like it had substance. Like, for a game that has been so long, so highly anticipated to be remade, as one of the ultimate, if not the ultimate classic of the PlayStation 1, the first PlayStation, it just felt so underplayed. It felt so like, here's on a side note, you know what I mean? Like, it was in the middle of their, like, near the middle of their press conference when they'd done this, and that was it. It just really never had anything. They never had, you know what I mean? It just never had any substance. It never had any feeling for it, or they're just kind of like, oh, we're pleased to announce that Final Fantasy VII will be like, you'll be able to play it first on the PS4. So like, I can understand. Like, I'm not even gonna get into the semantics and the, you know, the people will be like, oh, why is it no exclusive or something? You know what I mean? Like, I understand why it's not exclusive. It's too big. Like, when Final Fantasy VII came out, it wasn't a big game. Like, it was highly anticipated, but it was exclusive just because, like, what else are they going to put it on the Saturn? You know what I mean? Like, no, they're just going to put it on the PlayStation. Like, it. But now, both consoles like are comparable. Like the Xbox One and the PS4 are comparable in like power and strength and like whatever they're using to process things, and that they're about the same. They have very similar architecture. There's no real reason why they would not want to port it to the Xbox One. So I understand why they're not going exclusive. It just makes business sense. They're a business, you know, they're a company. If we're going to get a remake, bite the bullet and make a remake, but make it for everything. You know, make it for as many platforms as you can, so you can recoup all your money back and more. You know, so I can understand that. Like, I'm not bothered that it's not exclusive. It kind of, it's like a kind of twinge your heart a little bit. You know what I mean? As like a, you know, kind of Sony guy that I am, kind of like, oh well, it would have been better if they could have got it exclusive, but obviously I understand why they couldn't. I get it, I understand. But even then, I just kind of like, oh, it didn't feel like it was real, even though it is real. And and my predictions of when it's going to be out, it'll not be out until the PS5. They'll not have that game finished. Not for ages yet. It's like they announced it with a CG trailer, a couple of characters walking in like in from the behind of the camera, and that was it. That's all they had. They never even done the scene with the train or anything like that. It was nothing. You know, literally nothing. It was less than nothing. Like in terms of what Final Fantasy fans expected, just to see Cloud and the Buster Sword would be enough. But yeah, the first person you see is Barrett. You know, he's got his gun arm, cool, and then Cloud, and that's it. That's fine, okay, whatever. It just didn't feel like anything though. It didn't feel like it was tangible. It didn't feel real. It just felt like it was a trailer for a new film or something like that, you know. Because it had the voice actor from the film, and it had the music from the film, and then it kind of went into the do do do, you know, the prelude thing. But yeah, again, digressing here. It just didn't feel like it was a real thing. So yeah, the thing is, right, is that I was paying attention to all of this press conference, and I completely forgot that Devolver Digital are one of the best indie publishers out there, and I missed these indie games. So it says here, Devolver continues to bring indie fury at PS4, and this time with its hyper-violent Mother Russia Bleeds, and the more contemplative ITER. Mother Russia Bleeds looks like an M-rated Streets of Rage inspired beat 'em up filled with pig mask, gimp suits, and point-blank revolver executions. Yeah, Devolver Digital has that sort of that corner of the market covered, I think. But I don't really remember much about this. These games that they showed, so I'm just going to move on. And then Yu Suzuki came out and he was like, "Here's a Kickstarter page, Shenmue 3," and then everybody was just like, "Ah, it's happening!" And then let me 2 seconds. So bit.ly/save Shenmue. As of now, it's reached its goal, and this was announced like less than 10 hours ago. It's reached $2 million within 10 hours. Its goal was 2 million. It's at 2,095,026. So with 25,798 backers, 31 days to go. This could very well destroy Bloodstained Ritual of the Night in terms of like how much it's going to get, like how much money is going to be put into it, you know. Shenmue didn't do well on the Dreamcast. It didn't do, like, the sequel didn't do any better either, and it kind of like lost Sega quite a lot of money, which is probably one of the reasons why the Dreamcast failed. And it's actually blamed as one of the reasons why the Dreamcast actually failed. But sort of like almost 2 decades on, like like 15 years later, whatever, you know what I mean? Like I can't remember exactly when it came out, but like Shenmue 2 14 years ago. So like that's quite a lot of years ago for that sequel. Like nowadays when people look back at Shenmue, they remember it fondly. But back then when it first came out, it lost Sega a lot of money. So Kickstarter is the perfect platform. This is like, Kickstarter is the perfect platform to pitch this idea for Shenmue 3. Because, let me tell you, if people want something, they'll pay for it. If they want something, they'll pay for it. And so far, 25,831 people want Shenmue 3. And like, they've paid for the development of the game already. Like $2 million plus dollars already paid. Like that's almost $2,100,000 done, and it's still got 31 days to go on the backer thing, like on the Kickstarter project. It's already made its money, and it's still got the entire month left to go. People want Shenmue 3, okay? So just, I want Shenmue 3. I want to play Shenmue 3. I'm going to play Shenmue 3. I want to play Shenmue 3. I really, really want to play Shenmue 3. I just want Yu Suzuki to take this seriously. I want him to understand that this has got to be not just business. This can't just be Kickstarter. Way I made $2 million. Now we can just like mess about for like a couple of years to make the game. You know what I mean? I want him to understand that this is important to people. People want to play this game. I want him to understand that you can't screw people about with something like this. You can't just throw up a wee bit of, like very early CG concept art or whatever and say, look at this, isn't it going to be amazing? Because like those graphics look PS3. They don't look like next gen. They don't look very good at all, to be honest. But it's the hope of something greater. You know what I mean? It's the hope that people have got to see this story complete. It's something that so many people who care about that world and care about these characters. It's like Final Fantasy VII. People really want a remake. And I'm telling you, right now, I'm more stoked for Shenmue 3, to be honest. I want to be driving those like forklifts, you know. I want to go back and drive forklifts. I want to go back, kick the crap out of punks that are like, hey, give me your like lucky ball catcher like toy, and you're like, screw you, I'm gonna punch your face in right in the like a kid's play park or whatever, you know, like it's like a rural version of like Yakuza. It's the precursor to Yakuza. Man, like all you've got to get is Ryo like suplexing someone on a bench, and it will be Yakuza, you know. Like, you'd be surprised if he doesn't walk into what's his name? I've not played Yakuza for so long now. Kazuma Kiryu. If he runs into like Kazuma at some point or something like that, that'd be silly. But anyway, I can't because it's like set in like the 80s or something, eh? It's set back in the past. He might be older now. Like it might be like present day, and he might be 50 or something probably. But yeah, Shenmue 3 looks like I'm not going to say it looks great because like the CG stuff, like the environment looked nice, but like the characters, like you see the portrait of Ryo, and he looks disgustingly bad. But yeah, people want it, and please, Yu Suzuki, please do not screw these people over. Please don't. Please just like do your job, do what you said you're going to do, make it a labour of love. Do it because you love the story. You want to see the story complete, just like we do, you know. Because I really want to play like Shenmue 3. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next game. They showed off the Batman Arkham Knight Scarecrow mission thing. It was like a first-person thing where like an off-duty cop walks into a bar, and there's this guy who comes up to him and says, "Sorry, officer, I don't want to disturb you, but there's a guy smoking over there." And the cop gets up from his chair and he walks over and walks over to this guy in the corner, and he's like this hooded guy, and the guy's got like this. It looked like a knapsack, like that was kind of had smoke coming out of it. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, I need to stop smoking," or whatever like that, you know. And it turned around as this really horrifying, like disgusting, like face out of some horror movie, you know. And that was kind of ended up where like. It's almost like the guy was scared of zombies or something like that, because everybody started like fighting against all these zombies. Everybody was like dying, and like the zombies were killing everybody, and like he got like clawed to death as well. And it was like Scarecrow missions for Batman Arkham Knight, and I was like, you know what? I like Batman. Batman's cool. I like Scarecrow. Scarecrow's cool. I'll play that game. It's not one of these games that you want to kind of showcase at your E3 press conference, though, because people are already super, super excited to play it. And I was already going to buy it. Like, there's no point in giving that time to something that people are already dedicated to. They're definitely going to buy it. People are definitely going to grab it. So there's no point in wasting time showing something like that when you could show something else. You know? Anyway. That's just my take on it. Like, it was really cool. Like, Batman's really cool. I'm going to enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it. It's going to be great. But, you know, kind of just... You didn't need to do it. It was just like a wee extra, I suppose. Then they went and done their virtual reality stuff. Didn't really care for that at all. I'm just going to skip with that. They talked about PlayStation View, nothing to do with Britain at all, so wasn't really interested. Then they showed Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Not interested at all. Don't like Black Ops at all. Disney Infinity 3, Star Wars. Not interested at all. Whatever. Star Wars Battlefront. Wasn't interested in the slightest. I'm sorry. Like, if you're looking for someone who's like a total hardcore Star Wars fan, might be surprising to you, but as much as a nerd as I am, I'm not into Star Wars really. Not at all. Like, I see when like some people hear a lightsaber beam, like, you know, like when people hear that, some people are like, oh, I like that sound. You know what I mean? When you hear their laser pistols, beer, people like those sounds. And you know what? It doesn't do anything for me. These at Walker things and all that, like, and the laser pistols and like the stormtrooper armor and that. People get really excited for all this stuff. I'm just not interested at all. Like, it doesn't do anything for me, not in the slightest. And then they showed Uncharted 4. They closed the show with Uncharted 4. They had this really cool looking car chase. Again, I'm going to buy Uncharted 4. Uncharted 1 through 3 was great. I love the games. It's just like Batman. You didn't need to end the show on something that people were already invested in playing. You know, you don't have to keep on showing it off. It's good to show off all your stuff, and that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, the tech that you're showing in the game looks really good. Like, Sully looks totally smart. Like he looks really cool in this new game. Like, Sully looks really cool. Like, I like because they're going for that sort of realistic look of the characters. Sully looks like how I'd imagine him to look. He just looks like an old man. And that's cool. But again, you didn't really need to do anything with that. You didn't have to do anything with Batman or Call of Duty or Battlefront or Uncharted or your total PlayStation headset thing, your virtual reality headset. That stuff didn't really need to happen. If you were going to do anything at all, you should have left the Final Fantasy VII reveal to the very, very end, so that more people would be like thank you and good night, and then, you know, the Final Fantasy VII logo comes up. You know, like, that would have been like the icing on the cake. But you're showing something that people have already seen. You know, so overall, the start of the conference, the start of the Sony conference was absolutely phenomenal. Up to the point where they started showing like Disney Infinity and all that sort of stuff, and it's kind of like, okay, like the last sort of 30 minutes to 45 minutes was kind of like, okay. But that first half was phenomenal. Like, Last Guardian, that like mechy dinosaur hunter-y game. Final Fantasy VII Remake, like Shenmue 3, like completely unreal. Like, it was almost like I was dreaming. Like, they had dreams there as well, you know. Like, like it. I don't know. Like, it's so hard to do something like this and like talk about it on my own, because all it is just me like stream of consciousness thought of like what I thought of it. But I get the feeling that if I was to talk to somebody else about it, like if I was to do this as a podcast with Rage doesn't like E3. He's not into that sort of stuff. He doesn't like AAA. AAA's not his thing, you know. So like, I get the feeling that if I was to talk to him about it, he'd probably be like, "Oh, okay, cool." I'm sure he would have like even been sort of dismissive of like the Final Fantasy VII remake, you know, kind of like, "Oh well, it's finally okay, that's cool, that's it," you know what I mean? Like, so E3 is just not his bag, really. Like, we'll probably do a couple of sketches to sort of mock everything that happened, but yeah. Anyway, guys, that was the Sony conference, which was utterly ridiculously cool at the start. Sort of petered out near the end, though. And that's not to say that the games at the end were terrible or bad or anything like that. No. The games were good. It's just that you didn't really need to use them, you know. It just didn't need to happen. So yeah. that was the Sony conference. I'll probably be doing like if they announce like new games on the show floor or something like that. I see them like in the coming sort of days. I'll maybe do like dedicated videos to them. But like I thought, well, I'll just do the Sony conference for now. But yeah, so thanks for listening, guys, and check out all the next videos or the previous videos. Or cool, okay. Anyway, guys, bye.